Hear me?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, awesome. Fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks for joining us. Sorry about that. Sorry about those IT issues.
It was a technical difficulty on my side, not yours. I apologize.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I'm glad you're here. And, obviously a lot of people have logged on because we want to hear all about what this upcoming season is. Obviously, it's been crazy for you, I'm sure, over the last couple months. I just want to start out by saying kind of what was your initial reaction as AD of athletics when the COVID crisis hit and March Madness got canceled and the professional sports got canceled?
I don't mind anything from the heart, but tomorrow was just disappointment. We were right in the middle of spring sports seasons, and that's an exciting time and something our kids work so hard for. And so to know that those seasons were all coming to an end like they did, was disappointment. I think my reaction then was figuring out, okay, how do we make the best of this situation, and then getting as much of an understanding of the situation as possible. Honestly, at that time, having no idea the bandwidth of what we were really ultimately going to deal with.
Got you. And in terms of, obviously everyone wants to know about all the sports, but I think the one that is most prominent right now would be football. And everyone wants to know, are the Hurricanes practicing? How are they staying safe? What does your upcoming season look like with the COVID pandemic still here?
Yeah, and I think the thing I would say is, we're 14 weeks in for March 13th. We're 11 weeks away from opening weekend for football. So there's still a lot of unknown. To answer some of the questions, we started bringing guys who are living locally back onto campus this week. We had them tested last week, and we'll continue that process. We worked with some of your colleagues in UHealth and really creating, I guess I'll say, a great structure for our return to campus. And that's something that we'll follow the protocols that were established by UHealth leaders, and we'll work with them on making sure we do all we can to create the best environment possible, recognizing that we're probably going to have positive tests along the way. And that's something just that we'll have to deal with as those things happen.
How are you keeping the players as safe as possible? Are you doing testing every week? Are you kind of quarantined within certain parts of the campus? What's the plan with keeping them safe?
I think a lot of different things. Obviously, there's the protocols that we established through UHealth, which includes testing, and there's educational components of it. From a sanitary protocol to unnecessary contact to social distancing, and a lot of things that we're going to do not only as athletics, but as we have our students return to campus. And so there's a lot of different pieces that go into it, and some of it is just educating our young people on just the realities of COVID-19 and the importance of them really heeding to the messages that we're sharing with them, not only when they're at our facilities, but as importantly, and probably more importantly, when they leave our facilities and are at home or out in the community or whatever it is.
Got you. And what about fans in the stands? I don't think that's going to be, is that your decision, or is that more of who makes the decision as to whether or not there'll be fans at sporting events this coming year?
Well, I think there'll be a number of people who make the decision along the way. Obviously, we're going to need the support of Governor DeSantis, and then our local leadership here from that perspective, from the city and county perspective. And then as an institution, we have to do what we feel is best and safest for our, not only for our fans, but probably more importantly for our students. And so again, still 11 weeks out, it's hard to say what that's going to look like on that first game day. I'm preparing that we won't have any fans there. That's not to say we won't have any. It's too early to tell that. My hope is that we would have a full house, but I think I've come to the realization that's probably not realistic. So I guess to answer your question, I'm hoping that we have some type of socially distanced crowd that is there for our first game. At the same time, we'll be ready to go if it means we have to play with no fans in the stands.
Got you. And so you are very confident that there will be a football season.
Well, I think that's, again, hard to say with not knowing what the next 11 weeks are going to look like. I think as we look at it today, are there some challenges? Yeah, there's some challenges without a doubt. I will say I'm very committed to doing all we can to have a season if it's going to be the safe and right environment for our young people. And it's something that our colleagues in the ACC conference, and I think across the country, have agreed is the right thing to do, given everything that's going on come that first weekend of September, which again, it's still, I think, just too early to know what that really is going to look like.
Has there been talk about, I know they were talking about having no airplane flights, no out of conference games potentially. Is that something that you guys have broached and keeping it all local in Florida or Southeast?
We haven't talked about all Florida. We have, we've had conversations about, the football schedule and what does that look like, and does it mean we have to look at conference only type situations or regional type travel? But our conversations really been from a conference perspective. And so again, when you look at the state, Florida State, up the road in Tallahassee is part of the ACC conference, and then we have a lot of other great institutions, up and down the Eastern Seaboard that are part of our conference. And I would say if we're going to have competitions, at a minimum, it would be with that group. Obviously, our hope is that we would be able to have our competitions with the teams as we scheduled and as we planned on March 11th. I guess I'll say.
Got you. And there's a lot of people commenting here about getting the U back to prominence in football. It's been about 20 years or so, and I would love to see it. Of course, return back to prominence. What do you think are the key steps in the next year or two for Miami to get back into that national prestige when it comes to football, top 10, in the hunt for the playoffs and national championship?
Well, first things first, we got to win the Coastal. If you can't win the Coastal, it's going to be hard to be in that national title talk even. And then, we need to be in contention for the ACC championship. I think the pieces that go into it are those that Coach Diaz is putting in place. Obviously, I don't think it's a secret to anyone. Offensively, we just didn't perform last year the way that we needed to. And Manny made the changes that he did in the offseason, obviously bringing in a new offensive coordinator, and honestly, an entirely new system, and Rhett Lashley and what Rhett will do with the offensive side. And then upgrading, in terms of who we are, going out and, young man, we got to come on campus, to vie for a kicking job. I think will be very competitive. We saw it last year with what Lou Headley did and coming in and changing how we performed from the punting aspect. We need that same type of improvement, in the kicking game. We need a higher level of execution in the quarterback room, and obviously having a young man like Garrett King, who is a proven quantity in college athletics, transfer in is a step in that direction. And I know it'll be competitive there. We have a great great young quarterback coming in Tyler Van Dyke, and obviously you have the room of quarterbacks that are there that I know aren't going to lay down and just give up a position. So there needs to be competition. We need to continue to increase the amount of talent that we have in our program. I think Manny's working on both of those, and then we have to make adjustments when things aren't working. And again, I think credit to Coach Diaz. You saw that in the decisions he made in the offseason and the individuals he brought in, specifically, I think Rhett Lashley being one of the biggest keys.
Yeah, one of the things people have commented is that Miami used to dominate Florida in terms of getting the best players, getting the local talent, which has fallen off in the last 10 years. How do you prevent the top talent locally from Miami, Broward, South Florida, going to Alabama, going to Texas, going to Georgia, which is what has really happened in the last decade or so? How do you keep local talent here?
Well, again, I think, our coaches are identifying them and they're working those relationships. It's continuing to do those things. I think you have to recognize that there's certain young people that are going to want to go away. And so as great of a fit and as great a program as we can be, it doesn't mean everyone's going to stay home. With all that said, I think we have to continue to give people the resources and the support they need to be their very best. And again, we've shown that here historically. We've made significant steps over the last few years, from the addition of the indoor practice facility to different things we're doing, from training table to the training room experience. And so it's investing in the experience and giving our coaches all those tools. And I think it's something that they'll be out recruiting hard. They'll be working the local relationships, and I think we had a great class this year. I think we'll see that continue on under Coach Diaz's leadership.
Now, how do you recruit in the COVID era? Are you flying to players? Are they flying here? Are you doing tele-recruitment? It must be difficult, because it is for any type of recruitment process with this current pandemic.
Yeah, the NCAA put mandatory dead periods in, which dead periods mean you can't have any contact with the kids either away from campus or on campus. So no one in the country is allowed to have kids on their campus right now, and no one's allowed to go out and visit kids right now. So really the recruiting's done through, whether it's, Zoom type calls, phone calls, those different types of things. That's really what's happening right now. And again, I'm not as much of a part of the recruiting process as our football coaches are, but I do know our coaches have been working very hard, and I know they'll have a great class that will sign here at the University of Miami come December and ultimately February.
Got you. You know, there's a question which keeps coming up here from the fans. Can we play Florida every year in football? Is that something that you think is doable, or is it going to still be on a rotational?
Hey, I'd love to play the Gators every year. Unfortunately for us, it just doesn't work with their schedule. I think, as everyone is aware, we played them this past year. I spoke with their AD. We set up another home and home series, and actually a home and home this year, as I think everyone knows, was a neutral site. But we'll have the Gators coming here, and we'll go to Gainesville. I want to say it's in 24, 25, or it might be 25, 26, but around that time. But again, it doesn't work for their scheduling philosophies to play us every year. Obviously disappointing to us, as I would love to have them on the schedule every year.